have around the meditation, and then I'll give a talk afterwards, is getting unstuck and changing perspective. That's going to be the theme, which I felt was hopefully useful for us all, given the kind of challenge and difficulty we're all going through at the moment with the lockdowns and moving into stricter lockdowns. So I'm in regional Victoria. I'm down on in Ocean Grove, and we've just gone into stage 3, I think it is, or maybe tomorrow we do. And then you guys, if you're in Melbourne, yeah, commiserations that you're probably about to go into stage 4. So my aim for this evening is to provide some really practical tools for all of us to cope with this a lot better. Okay, so there's nothing more certain than change. That's what we're incredible amounts of change this year that we've had to deal with. So I think we should get into our meditation, and then yeah, the theme will flow through the meditation and then into the talk. So please get comfortable and stable and able for you to sit fairly still for the next half an hour or so. And I'll just set my timer. Okay, let's begin. So settling into your meditation posture. Wherever you've been today or wherever your mind has been, let's now settle our mind and body into this seat, this cushion, this chair. Begin by feeling very intimately into the body as you sit, touching the cushion or chair beneath you. Feeling your feet against the floor or the cushion. Feeling your hands in your lap. And beginning to feel into the gentle breath, sensing into that rise and fall. And it can be helpful to settle in by softening on each out-breath. Letting the tension go as you breathe out. Softening through the face and jaw and throat. Letting the shoulders drop. The belly soften. So starting meditation from the point of softening, opening, even relaxing if you feel that you've been tense. yet still bringing an alertness. Enough alertness to be able to track your breath. Stay with the body. Really sitting back now and opening to whatever comes up in the next little while. Not expecting anything in particular to happen. Let's just be open and observe and watch. And as you settle in, start to notice how the body and mind are feeling right now. So with all that's going on in our lives, you may be bringing certain emotions or tension, feelings in the body. So we want to be open to noticing this, just seeing what we discover as we notice what's there. So the best place to notice these states is in the body. So the body never lies. So notice if you feel any tension in the body, any particular sensations that stand out. So perhaps if there's a feeling of anxiety, worry, or even a sense of dread or fear, do you notice that? Is it in the belly or in the chest, the solar plexus? Or is it in the tightness of the jaw, the throat? Or is there heat in the body? Where there's tension, there can be heat. Maybe there's a more subtle sense of being on alert or apprehensive, maybe very subtle. Everyone will have a different experience of this moment in time. So you may be feeling quite numb, or perhaps a bit sad. Or even excited about all the change that's happening. Whatever's there, everything is welcome. There's nothing we need to get rid of. Feeling into the body to see what's there. If you do locate any sensation in the body, being very gentle with it, not trying to dig it out and figure it out. Just be very gentle and moving around the edges of it. Just gently feeling into it. And if at any time you feel it's starting to become difficult or overwhelming, just move back to the breath. Or whatever your main meditation object is. Could be the feet on the floor. And just reground yourself if you need to. So however you're feeling this evening, this is really a temporary state. This is simply what's happening right now. And later on or tomorrow, you'll feel different again. This is simply the flow of life, the experiences of life moving through us. And if what you're sensing in your body, what you're feeling right now is challenging, if it's a difficult pain or quite unpleasant or strong feeling, see if you can bring compassion to that feeling, holding it lightly, very gently and carefully, as if you were picking up a flower, a beautiful flower. Just holding it lightly. And that delicate flower you hold so lightly so as not to damage the petals. It's also a fleeting or temporary thing, that beautiful flower. So noticing this, the lightness, the fleeting nature of these feelings we have. If you start to feel bogged down or getting caught up by how you're feeling, just come back to the breath, the feeling of the air, the lightness of the air moving through the nostrils, the throat, the lungs. Likewise, if you're sleepy, heavy, feel the freshness of that air as you breathe in. And if you notice the thoughts of the day coming back into your mind, reliving events of the day or planning things, just note that and let it pass, another fleeting thought, and return to your breath. And again, notice that feeling in the body. If you notice a tension or some sense of pain or emotional feeling in the body earlier. Now notice it again and see, has it changed? Is it still there or has it moved? And if you notice any tension creeping in, the body tensing up, or the mind latching onto something, feel that tension and then soften as you breathe out. Really allow those muscles to let go. Feeling the lightness of the breath. And as the meditation draws near to the end, if you wish, you might like to take some deeper, longer, slower breaths. Really feeling the full inhalation, the full exhalation. Filling the lungs with that sweet air. And really letting go as you exhale. Softening the belly at the end of each out breath. And letting the breath return to its natural rhythm. Okay, thanks everyone. Beautiful meditating with you. So if you wish to stretch or stand up for a minute, please do. Or have a sip of water like I am, and I'll do the talk in a minute or two. Okay. Looks like everyone's very cozy. I can see lots of blankets and coziness going on, which is good. So I might get into the talk since everyone looks very comfortable, the ones I can see. Now, I did want to just get a sense, I can see about half of you, but I'm wondering who's in Melbourne and who's elsewhere. Maybe if you're in Melbourne, can you raise your hand for me so I can get a sense of how many? Yeah, great. And okay, who's in Victoria somewhere else like I am and Kate is? Anyone else in regional Victoria? No, oh yeah, there's a couple, Hal and Sue, yep. Yeah, great. Awesome, thank you. Oh, and I wonder if is there anyone who's not in Victoria who's in another state or, oh yeah, Teresa. Oh, there's quite a few. Oh, there you go. Awesome. Lovely to have you from elsewhere as well. Cool. So, all right, just gives me a sense of who's in what level of lockdown. So yes, the theme for the talk this evening is getting unstuck and changing perspective, because I feel like things are changing all the time for us all. But I don't know about you, but I found with certainly the last time the lockdown began, it was sort of, I got stuck in a bit of a, well, for me, the experience, everyone has a different experience of it, but I got really wired of like, what's going on? This is, so kind of amazing and, yes, a bit fearful, but also exciting and new and different. And yeah, I find I get a bit wired and watch way too much news. It's a really bad idea. It doesn't help. So yeah, I've been looking into how we can shift gears, change gears and get out of, if we get stuck in a particular kind of experience. So you may be stuck in a feeling of anxiety or fear about things, or perhaps, other people may be feeling a bit isolated and lonely or sad about it, the situation, and feeling a bit stuck in that, or resisting it, not accepting what's going on, even feeling angry. There's a huge range of possible reactions you may be having right now. And, it can be, especially when we're kind of on our own, potentially sort of a bit isolated at home, it can be hard to change gear and get out of that. I've often noticed, like if I'm at home and, in one particular mind state, I can go out and see a friend or even just go to a cafe or the shops, and it really shifts me and I'll get out of that mind state. So we need, and now we can't easily do that. We can't go to the cafe or, see friends or whatever. It can be a little harder to get ourselves unstuck. So what I wanted to offer this evening was a very practical talk about how some approaches we can use to get ourselves unstuck and shift our perspective and change gear. So with the guided meditation, I was really pointing towards, whatever feeling experience you may have been having right there in the meditation, that it's just a temporary state and it will change. Even if sometimes it can be quite painful. There can be physical pain or sort of emotional pain also. It can feel like it's going to be there forever, like it's concrete. But actually even that, shifts and changes and ebbs and flows, and yeah, nothing ever stays exactly as it is. So that, of course, is the Buddha's teaching of impermanence, that things are always changing. And, the most changeable thing really, everything is highly changeable, but our emotions and thoughts are potentially you know, thoughts are just coming through rapidly all the time. That's one of the most changeable things. But it doesn't always feel like that, because we can get very stuck in this kind of broken record of, you know, worry or planning or fear or reliving an argument you've had with someone, whatever it may be. So we need some tools, methods, ways to get ourselves unstuck, to change this perspective and get a fresh view, especially when we're stuck at home. So just an example, a friend of mine was relating to me how when she has an argument with her partner, even about very small things like who's done the washing up or not done the washing up, her experience is she gets very wound up, like, you know, stressed and upset by that argument or disagreement. And, you know, which, you know, most people would in a argument, maybe not necessarily about the washing up, but about bigger things. But she was relating how she then feels upset all day. Like it can go on, that same feeling can stick around for, you know, 24 hours or 12 hours. So we really, in that situation, need some tools to help ourselves shift out of it. And meditation and mindfulness is just the perfect place, the greatest way I've found of helping ourselves. So mindfulness, so the first theme I of course want to talk about is mindfulness of thoughts and emotions. So that's what we were practicing in the meditation. And some of this, what I'm going to talk about, is very practical. You will probably know and have heard this before, but I find that you can almost never be reminded too many times of some of these things. You know, and I'm speaking to myself even when I wrote my notes, I was like, this is what I need. So, you know, this is very practical for all of us, even if you have heard this before, some of these approaches before. So you all know, being meditators, that awareness of our thoughts and emotions is the starting point to be able to shift and change them, or change our relationship to them. So if we're ruminating, so we've had a conflict with somebody, for example, and we start replaying that run-in, or, you know, if you have a road rage incident, that can be quite a triggering event, for example, we can start replaying it afterwards over and over, thousands of times in our mind. And each time we replay that event in our mind, our body is going through the experience again and again and again. So that triggers the tension, the anxiety, the fear again in our nervous system. So mindfulness is the most fabulous way to get out of this. It's because you've got this practice that you've been practicing on the cushion to see that's what you're doing. Oh, I'm replaying that for the 100th time. That's that same event that happened, you know, yesterday. And you can choose to stop replaying it. You can see that you're doing it. If you don't notice you're doing it, you know, you're not going to be able to change it. So you see that it's happening and you choose a different path. So this is, you know, the beauty of mindfulness, is you can actually nip it in the bud by realizing you're doing this. So that's the mindfulness of thoughts. And then, so that's kind of step one. Step two is, in this two-step process, very simple, is to go to the body. Feel the anger or the fear in the body, or the upset, whatever that emotion, that strong emotion is, feel it in the body. So that's what I was describing in the meditation. So if you're feeling angry or hurt from having had this conflict with someone, where do you feel it? Is it, you know, a sort of tightness and a bubbling or a heat in the belly or in the solar plexus, or is it for you in the chest or the throat? Where do you feel it? So go straight to the feeling in the body. and sit with that feeling and breathe into that feeling. So very, very practical, and I was about to say very simple, but of course it takes a lot of practice to actually get good at that. So that if you're in the moment of conflict or in a stressful situation, you can immediately call on that skill that you've developed by, you know, meditating and doing mindful practices over, some of you, for many years. So that's kind of, for me, that's number one in the toolkit, is come straight to notice the thoughts. Okay, that's what I'm doing. That's what my mind's doing. Come to the body and just sit with the physical sensation in the body. And the longer you can stay with that bodily sensation, the less you'll be thinking, and you'll shift out of that that pattern of thought, emotion. You'll just come to the body and stay with that. Okay, so the second practice or approach that I want to offer is the practice of gratitude. And again, I'm sure you've all heard a lot about gratitude. In fact, I think Carol Perry did a beautiful talk on gratitude not so long ago on one of our sits here. And gratitude really is like, it's a practice, a tool that you can use. It's so powerful as a daily practice to help us get unstuck. So, you know, you've probably heard of the recommendation to use a gratitude diary can be one way. So you, each morning or each night before bed, you sit down and write down 3 things you're grateful for. So that's a common way that people recommend to practice it. Or another one can be with your family. You sit at the dinner table in the evening and say, each person says 3 things that they're grateful for. So there are simple ways you can practice this, practice gratitude. And the purpose of it is, again, it's retraining the brain. So our mind has this habitual thought patterns, and unfortunately our mind tends to go towards what went wrong, or the criticism we got, or, you know, the worry that we have. As Rick Hanson, the famous quote from Rick Hanson, I think it's in his book, The Buddha's Brain, the brain is like Teflon for good things and Velcro for bad things. I'm sure some of you have heard that one before, and it's a great way to remember, or just remind ourselves that our brain does tend to do that. It tends to cling on to problems like Velcro and rehash them over and over and dwell on them, because our nervous system is just attuned to noticing, you know, problems so we can fix them. Survival method. But unfortunately, our brain is like Teflon for good things, that we forget when things actually go well, and they do. Beautiful things happen every day and things go well, and we forget. In the end of the day, you know, depending, everyone's different, but many of us do sit there and go, oh, you know, that happened, and we can dwell on that. Okay, so that's the purpose of gratitude practice, is to retrain the brain to start noticing the good things and sticking with them, rather than just dwelling on the problems or what went wrong or the criticisms that people give us. And people give us a compliment. I'm sure you've had this experience of when I teach you know, mindfulness workshops, I used to have a evaluation form, and people would fill in comments, and there'd be like, you know, 20 amazing, beautiful comments. It was so great. And one person writes, oh, such and such a thing could have been better. And of course, you know, what do I dwell on afterwards? Oh, I should have done that better. We all do that. It's just completely natural. So we need to teach our brain not to do that so much. So it is really about choosing our thoughts. And I did want to say that gratitude practice is not about, it's not bright siding. It's not, you know, this pandemic's actually great because this and this, you know, it's really great. We're not trying to bright side stuff, that things that are really patently not great. But you know, in a given day of our life, 100 things are lovely and another 100 things are difficult, and we have a choice of what we want to put our attention on. That's really the point. So with one small point about gratitude practice is often people, if you're doing it, writing it down or even saying it to your family, can kind of get repetitive. Oh, I'm grateful that I've got my health, or I'm grateful that I can walk, or I'm grateful for the clean water, Melbourne water, so it's such good water. So you can get kind of repetitive about it. So another way to look at it is looking back over your day of 3 things that went well, or 3 things that you were satisfied with, or, you know, there are different ways to do it rather than sort of big general statements about I'm grateful to be alive. So get quite specific. That can be really helpful. So, you know, today I'm grateful for the conversation I just had with my daughter that made me laugh, or something like that. And with the being in lockdown and being in this kind of difficult, not very easy situation, it is a bit more challenging to, you know, foster up that great feelings of joy and contentment. So I think that, and I'm sure many other Dharma talks have touched on the finding the joy or the gratitude for the small things, like the cups of tea and the child's laughter and the beautiful nature outside. The birds are always fail safe. If you, for me anyway, if you need to pick me up, just go and find a bird and watch a bird. I find that very helpful. But you know, today's one for me is peanut butter, loving peanut butter. Very simple. Okay, and the last theme I wanted to mention, touch on, is creativity and connection. So finding different ways to connect. We can't connect in our usual ways now with, you know, friends and family out in person, or even in a cafe, or, you know, there's a lot of things we can't do. But so we need to be very creative, even more creative than in the first lockdown, I'm thinking. So the first lockdown, we all got a bit creative about putting, painting rainbows on fences and teddy bears in windows, and big family Zoom calls and things like that, which is all awesome stuff. Dropping toilet paper, rolls of toilet paper on our neighbours' doorsteps is another good one. So there's all sorts of things that people come up with, and we're going to have to be even more creative this time, I reckon. So see if you can come up with different things you can do at home in your, you know, in your everyday life that are different, that, you know, bring you a bit of joy, bring you a bit of a different perspective. That's really what I was getting towards. So how can you be creative about it? Like, you don't have to start knitting a beanie or making dream catchers or whatever, if that's not your thing. But yeah, find different ways to shake things up a little bit. So a few examples I could think of were to walk in a different street that you've never walked in before when you go out for your walk. Cook with a new ingredient you've never cooked with before. And oh, here's my personal current favourite, try a different sport via YouTube. So Irish dancing or something like that. So just try something different is really what I'm saying. And I wanted to finish with a poem, which is for our shared humanity, our shared experience that we're going through all of this together, and in fact people all around the world also going through this same challenge. So this is a poem by David White. Everything is waiting for you is the title. Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone, as if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the tiny hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely even you at times have felt the grand array, the swelling presence and the chorus crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. Love that. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity, mindfulness. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors have always been there to frighten you and invite you. And the tiny speaker in the phone is your dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the good in you at last. All the birds and creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything is waiting for you. Thank you for listening, everyone.